So I've had a few people ask me to make a video on the macro that I use in Raid, mainly the fish macro, which is the cheese macro. And all it does is basically switch my bars. If you pay attention right here, this little number, it switches my bars from 1 and 2 when I play Fury, and 1, 2, 3 when I play Arms. So right now I'm talented Fury. Got the fist weapon, haven't enchanted it yet. Got it last night, pretty sick. So I'm going to show you how it works and why I use it. So the way it works, again, it's a bar swapping macro. So you can see here it's /startattack, just like every melee macro you ever make, /cast nostance 3, which means if I'm not in berserker stance, it will put me in berserker stance, /changeactionbar when I'm not in combat to 1, but if I'm in combat to 2. Now the reason why it changes to 2 when I'm in combat is because this macro, the first one on bar 1, will cast Bloodthirst. Now if you see here, I'm going to hit the macro once and watch what happens. Cast Bloodthirst and it switches to 2. Now if you look here, when it goes to 2, it's going to do the same thing at the start, but now it's going to change action bar to 1. And it's going to cast a Whirlwind. So we're on bar 2. I'm going to click it. Now we're on bar 1. And it casted Whirlwind. And the reason why this is so good, or I think it's really good, this is obviously opinion. You can play a warrior without any macros and hit all the keybinds, all your abilities manually. But I find with warrior, they have a very button mashy rotation, which means you basically just hit Bloodthirst, Whirlwind, off cooldown, rinse, repeat for the entire fight. So I macroed them together using action bar swaps, and you just kind of spam it. And when you spam it, it just switches back and forth, and it just hits them off cooldown, like so. I use it on my side mouse button. I have 2 side mouse buttons on my mouse. So yeah, so there it is. Then on my left hand, I have Battle Shout, I have Heroic Strike, I have Slam. So while I'm hitting the 1 button, I'm hitting Heroic Strike and Slam at the appropriate times. And yeah, so that's basically it. All right, I'm back at the target dummies. I have respect to arms. I will show you how it works for how the bar swapping macro works for arms. It's essentially the same thing as Fury, except in arms it uses 3 bars instead of 2. So right now, I'm on bar 1. If I hit the macro, which is cheese 1, it will switch me to, it will cast Mortal Strike. It will put me to action bar 2. It will, if I hit the macro again, it will use Slam, right? Put me on bar 3, and it will use Whirlwind. And then it will switch me back to bar 1, where then again, I can use Mortal Strike. Put me on bar 2, right? Bar 2, use Slam. Bar 3, Whirlwind. And that's essentially how it works. And pretty much, that's the rotation for arms. Kind of just hit Mortal Strike if you can, hit Slam if you can, and if you can't hit either of those 2, then you hit Whirlwind. And you can hit hamstrings at high rage to fish for Wind Furies and crits for your deep wounds. You hit Heroic Strike when you get decently high rage so that you can get a little more damage on your autos. But essentially that's it. And yeah, these are this is the main macro that I use for Fury and for arms DPS on Warrior. I find it helps out a lot with relieving some of the button mashy portions of the rotation that Warrior has, and frees up a lot of your action bar that you can do other things with. And yeah. Again, I will, if people really want, I'll make a more in-depth, longer video with a lot more information about my weak auras, about how I approach every boss in No More Gone, and maybe even gearing, understanding like how to gear properly as a warrior. And yeah, in my next raid, I'll be running Fury for the entire raid. Normally I run the first 4 bosses is Fury, and the last 2 bosses is Arms. But since we got the Claw last night, I'm going to run Fury the next raid for all 6 bosses, which could be interesting. And hopefully we get a good overall, because that's what I'm striving for. I want to get a good overall on the raid so that I get a good rank. But yeah. That's it. That's all. Again, I'll leave... I'll copy and paste these, my 3 bar macros. I'll put them in the description so that you guys can copy and paste them into your macros, and you can use them on your warrior. And I would love to hear some feedback on it too. I would love to hear anything about the macro or anything about warrior or what you do and what I should do. And yeah, leave some comments so that I can read them. I'll get back to them. I'll answer them as soon as I see them. And yeah, if people really want me to make a longer, more in-depth informational video on DPS Warrior for Nomergon, then I shall do that. Maybe I'll do like a watch. I'll like watch my own raid or something, and I'll just walk through every single action I'm trying to do in the fight and like what you should do to try and maximize DPS. Yeah, that's it. That's all. GG's. Bye bye.